Hello, and welcome to the Killer Cuties podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Cassidy, and I've seen almost every horror movie out there.
And I'm KD, and I've seen almost none of them.
So join us each week as I attempt to make a horror fan out of Katie.
As a warning, we will be discussing spoilers and some uncomfortable topics that may be in the plots, so feel free to check out the film on doesthedogdie.com first to check for any triggers before listening.
Today we're going to be talking about the iconic 90s slasher Scream. Let's get spooky.
Okay. I'm going to kick us off with a summary. So, a teenager and her boyfriend are murdered by a masked killer, aka Ghostface, sparking news media to swarm their high school since the killer is still on the loose. Sydney Prescott is one of the students that went to school with the victims. We learn that her mother was murdered 1 year earlier, and the local reporter, Gail Weathers, suspects that the person arrested wasn't actually responsible. While her dad is out of town, Sydney is attacked by Ghostface at her home. She fights him off, but then her boyfriend Billy arrives with a cell phone, and Sydney is convinced he's guilty. The police take him into custody, but that night, Sydney receives another call from the killer. So Billy's released, and suspicion is then shifted onto Sydney's father, who's unable to be found. School is suspended due to all the murders, and a friend of Sydney's, Stu, hosts a party to celebrate school being closed. During this party, some other people are murdered, but most of the party attendants leave when they find out that their principal has also been murdered and his body is hanging in the field. Sydney is chased around by Ghostface, and it's eventually revealed to her that it's her very own boyfriend, Billy, with Stu as his accomplice. They tell her that they were responsible for her mother's death also, and that they're going to kill her and frame her father for all of the murders. Sydney, with the help of Gale, fights back, killing both Billy and Stu and putting an end to the murders. For now.
Yeah, that's Scream. All in all, I think you weren't like super far off with your prediction of what this movie
Yeah,
is about, which I
yeah,
feel like is fair. It's a very popular movie, so I feel like it's kind of unavoidable to like at least get an idea of what's in it.
yeah, for sure. I will say I had no idea who it was at the end.
Okay.
I had no idea who was gonna be. I thought there's a scene where Dewey is eating an ice cream and he drops it or something, and you see the police officer's boots. And so I'm like, those are police issued boots. It's Dewey. Dewey is the killer. And so I was convinced for like half of the movie that it was
They actually did that on purpose.
good.
That was yeah, there were a lot of little misdirects that they wanted to
Yep.
do. Um, and even, like, when they promoted this movie back in the 90s when it came out, so originally, Drew Barrymore was offered the part of Sydney, due to, like, scheduling conflicts, she wasn't really able to do it, so then she was like, I want to play Casey because A, less time I can fit it in my schedule, plus B, because at that time, Drew Barrymore was this huge household name and everybody else kind of wasn't. She's like,
Mhm.
if I die in the first 10 minutes of the movie, anything can happen. And that's what people will expect. So her face is on the poster. They featured her heavily in promotions, and she was top billed, and all of that was just so that people wouldn't suspect that she would die so quickly.
Yeah, I was also surprised that she died very early, so makes sense to me.
So, what did you think?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. Yep. I think I missed out a little bit by not having seen some of the movies that they reference throughout the movie.
Yeah.
But I had, like, enough background knowledge to know. And I love, love, love that a lot of it was Halloween because I have seen that movie and I'm obsessed with Jamie Lee Curtis. So instantly makes the movie better that she has like a semi cameo, being in the movie by being in the movie. Um, but I also loved the like breaking the third wall, and yeah, it was great. I get the hype. I get your hype.
Yeah, I think one of the best draws of this movie is that it is satire, like, it is very self-aware, it was meant to be a slasher that's making fun of slashers, that's why
Mhm.
there's so many references, that's why Randy is so, like, "Virgins can't die," and, like, all this stuff, like, he knows the rules, and they kind of follow those rules, right? A little bit, they break some of them, but, um and actually so when they went to make Scary Movie, which is a parody of horror movies, right?
Mhm.
This is one of the main movies that they make fun of. And the writers kept having trouble because they'd make a joke and then they'd be like, oh, wait, Scream already made that joke. We got to think of something else.
Wasn't Scream originally called Scary Movie?
It was, yeah.
Yep, that makes sense. And there's more scary movies than there are screams, right? So many
I
scary
think
movies.
there's 5 scary movies and there's going to be 6 screams. So
Oh, okay.
this year they will outlast them.
Yay. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really excited to watch the other ones now because I think you told me that the killer's a different person every time. Well, I mean, you would have to be.
Yeah, which is one of my favorite things about the Scream series and why I think I like it more than other slashers is because it's not this unkillable monster like Michael or Freddy or Jason. Like Ghostface dies and that's it. And then the next movie you get a new Ghostface.
Mhm.
Or ghost faces, who's to say?
Yeah. Ooh,
Yeah.
spooky.
But
Um,
this is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I started watching horror movies before I liked horror movies. I used to hate them. They scared me. I was a little bitch. I did not like it at all. Um, and I think when I suffered through a lot of them, and then when I watched this one, it was like everything clicked. I was like, okay, I get it. I understand the appeal, and it was all over after that. I was in deep,
Amazing. All downhill from there.
truly.
So you didn't think it was scary at all, did you? Okay. I
Well,
just
I
wanna
mean, like I think maybe the first time I watched it, I was kind of like, oh, a couple like, but no, 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 no.
on a scale of 1 to 5?
Oh, one. Oh, we're skipping to it. All right, let's
Oh,
go.
sorry. No, I mean, you know, um, okay, 1, I
Yeah,
believe it.
yeah. It's actually a movie that I usually like show to people to get them into horror movies. A lot of the times I'll start with Scream because I don't think it's that scary and I think it's a good introductory into the genre and yeah.
True, true. I just wish that I had seen the other movies that they were talking about. I could have
That's
gotten
true.
the joke,
Yeah.
but I understood enough. Um, there were a couple jump scares. Um, I gave it a 1.5.
That's fair.
It was too busy being sexy to be scary.
Oh my god. 5 out of 5 sexy.
4.5.
Okay, wrong. But no, Ghostface is sexy. Stu Macher is the sexiest of all the ghost
Yes.
faces. I'm right. I'm brave enough to say it. Don't fight me on it.
No, I 100% agree with you.
You agree and you don't even know who the other ghost faces are.
Yeah. I mean, how could you top him? Matthew Lillard is perfect.
He is perfect. And he was like accidentally cast. He was just accompanying his girlfriend to an unrelated audition. And the casting director for Scream like saw him in the hallway and was like, "Hey, you, let's go. Come on."
Aw.
And he nailed the audition. And he did so well in it. Like definitely one of my favorite villains of all time. He
Mhm.
ad-libbed so many of his lines. Like the "my mom and dad are going to be so mad at me." All him.
That's amazing.
He's
He's
great.
the, only person we follow on Instagram,
Yeah,
and we're gonna keep it that way.
I agree.
Yep.
Big fan
Uh,
of Matthew.
I could also see why somebody watching this movie would be like, "That is Shaggy from Scooby-Doo."
Okay.
No?
I mean, I guess I don't watch this movie and see Shaggy in that role at all, but
Well, no, but, like, his facial expressions and the way he talks and
yeah, he is very animated.
yes.
Which he even said he did an interview once and he was talking about how like the last 20 minutes of this movie, he's like, me and Skeet were just at a 10. And he's like, Wes Craven is insane for letting us go on like that. Like he's like, if I had been sitting behind the camera watching us perform like that, I would have been like, let's dial it back 58%. Like but I'm so glad that Wes let it happen because Wes, like, we're on a first name basis.
Yeah.
Mr. Craven did did that because I adore the ending of this movie. I think it was perfect.
Yep, yep. That garage door death,
Yeah.
that's probably why I gave it a 1.5, honestly. I'm so afraid of being squished by my garage door.
Luckily, now they have those sensors where, like, it won't.
True, true. But it could always fall.
That's true.
Just saying,
Um, sure.
I'm just saying. Um,
Yeah.
that was almost worse than it falling on you.
Yeah. They had to they had to, like, nail her shirt to the doggy door because because Rose McGowan was so small that she kept, like, falling out of it when they were lifting
Oh,
it.
no.
So they were like, "Gotta nail you in."
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Mm.
But, Courtney Cox, she plays Gail Weathers. She had to, like, really lobby for the role. She told her agent specifically that she wanted to play someone who's, like, a bitch. Because she wanted something different than her role on Friends as Monica.
Yeah,
And Monica was the reason that the people at Scream were like, "No, we don't wanna consider her."
yeah.
She did it. She lobbied hard enough, and they finally gave her a chance and nailed it.
Yeah, she did great.
Yeah, she
Isn't
did.
this how she met her now ex-husband? Dewey, right?
Yes, David Arquette, yeah. They met on set. I think Wes Craven actually, like, pushed David to ask her out, and then
Aw,
yeah. Yeah,
making magic happen
I know.
on and off screen.
Truly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were a lot of I only noticed a couple of them, but reading more about it, there was a lot more than the couple that I noticed. Like editing errors where like people's mouths are moving and they're saying something completely different, or people's mouths aren't moving and they're saying something.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can see a cameraman at one of the scenes at the very beginning when
Oh
Casey's, like,
no.
walking through her house, you see just, like, his shadow, and then they made fun of that fully in Scary Movie, where, like, the entire outline of the man's shadow is just in the shot, like, on purpose.
Oh, that's amazing. I need to
Yeah,
watch the scary movies too.
I know. They're
I've
on the
seen the 4th
list.
one, only the 4th one. My mom and I went to go and see something, and the theater was too full. We would have had to sit in the
Okay.
front of the theater, and I would rather die. So we yeah. Um, so we were like, "Well, what else is playing right now?" And they're like, "Scary Movie 4." And we're like, "Okay." And the only reason I remember that it's Scary Movie 4, I don't remember anything about it except that the beginning is Dr. Phil cutting off the wrong leg
Yes.
and his legs being folded into the number 4.
Yeah, unfortunately, you watched the second worst Scary Movie.
Oh, no. Is the first one good?
Okay, so, like, yes,
Okay.
they are on the list if we ever wanna venture into that. It's definitely more comedy
Ooh.
than horror, but, like, it still counts. But I will say, and we can talk about that more in those episodes, but there are some jokes that do not age well in terms of
Oh, no.
political correctness.
Oh,
So,
no.
they're definitely a product of their time, and I still have, like, a deep love for them because they were so great when I watched them as kids, but, like, we can be a little critical of some of the jokes that were made and still love those movies.
Okay. I mean, I feel like that's happening with a lot of the older movies that we watched.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, fun fact, the use of caller ID tripled after Scream came out.
Really?
Yeah, that's impact right there. People were like, "Oh,
Seriously?
that's not gonna happen to me."
Right? I believe it. It was
Yeah.
so wild that, like, somebody having a cell phone was the reason that he was jailed for a potential like, a crime.
Yeah. It's the '90s. People didn't have cell phones back then.
It was the 90s.
It was the 90s.
Yeah, no, that's wild. It was wild.
Yeah.
Why did you have a cell phone?
It's like,
What do you mean?
nowadays, can you imagine someone being like, "Well, they have a cell phone, so it's them."
Right?
Like, yeah, so does half the world. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. Cell phones, man. Red flag.
Yeah. What else? What else?
Roger Jackson, he does the voice of Ghostface.
Oh, it's not a voice modifier.
No, it was actually
Oh.
him talking. So, no one on the set really met him so that their reactions to his voice were really sincere, and he was
Mhm,
actually talking to them on the phone like, during their scenes, he would actually be on the phone with them talking to them so that they could
oh,
react in real time to
mhm.
him. And originally, the producers were like, "He's just a placeholder, like, we'll dub it over in post." And then after he, like, did his performance, Wes Craven was like, "Nah, that's the voice."
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think about now because his voice has become so iconic and, like, a staple in the franchise.
Mhm. Interesting.
I know.
Um, it was
Mhm.
really sexy. It was a sexy voice. Had
That did it
sexy
for you, huh?
undertones. Well,
Okay.
no, I didn't say that, but
Well,
almost.
I mean, it sounds like it.
No, it definitely had I get the appeal.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the producers, though, he hated the, like, mask that they used. Yeah, he was like, "I want it changed. Give me, like, 7 options, I'll choose which one I like." And everybody else was like, "No, we're gonna shut down production. This is the mask." And they were so right. Like, I love them for that. Just being like, "No, we're using this or else the movie's not happening."
And Wes is the one that didn't like it?
No, 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 Wes liked it. Wes
Oh,
and, like, one of the costume directors, I think, were the ones that found it. It was one of the producers. I think it was one of the Weinsteins,
mm,
unfortunately.
yeah. They do tend to have bad opinions.
I mean, I don't wanna hold his brother accountable for what Harvey did, but, you know,
That's true.
yikes.
Um, yeah, no, and now it's just iconic.
Yeah. Which is cra it's
You're saying
crazy, like, so many things that were almost not even a part of the movie have now become so iconic to the franchise itself.
yeah, but you're saying that the costume was, like, an actual costume before the movie?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, so they had to contact the costume designers and get the rights to, like, to use the face, and they
Oh,
did. But yeah,
and
it
they
became
made a killing off of that.
well, so did the designers of the costume. It became, I think, the highest selling costume of all time.
I
So,
believe it. I
at
literally
least at
was
the time, but
I was shopping this morning and I saw a Ghostface shirt. I should have bought it.
you shoulda.
It was too small. Um, but yeah, no, absolutely iconic.
So iconic.
Mhm, mhm. How fucked up did you think it was?
1 out of 5.
Oh, okay.
It's just like as far as horror goes, it's not that fucked up. It's not really pushing any boundaries. It's just like some good old fashioned stabbings.
Okay. All right.
What did you
Um,
say?
well, I only said 1.5, but
Okay.
um, it's just for the idea of high school kids murdering each other.
Fair.
That bothers me.
Yeah. Does it help if you know that like
It's fake.
well, that and also like Ski Ulrich and Matthew Lillard were almost never actually playing Ghostface. It was almost in almost every scene it was a stand-in except for one. In the scene where Randy is like sitting on the couch being like, "Jamie, no, turn around," and Ghostface is sneaking up behind him,
Yes.
which is doubly funny because the actor who plays Randy's name is Jamie. So like
Oh, that is funny.
yeah, you're even more so like, "No, Jamie, really turn around."
Yeah, seriously.
But, so that is actually Skeet Ulrich in the full costume. He, like,
Oh,
specifically requested that he could do it, at least in one scene, and they were like, "Okay, you can do it here."
Aw, fun. That's cute.
Yeah, which is funny because 'cause I'm pretty sure I wanna say that if you actually, like, map out who was doing what at what time, it's supposed to be Stu that's sneaking up on him. I'm pretty
Oh.
sure. So, like but it's,
Yeah,
doesn't really matter, no. He's in a mask.
yeah, true. Um, I really liked kind of along the same lines, I really liked all of the scenes where it was like, they were obviously making fun of slasher movies, just like that, like, turn around," and there's somebody behind you, or
Yeah,
I can't think of another one off the top of my head, but all of those little tidbits were fun.
yeah.
Made it a lot more enjoyable.
I think I really like the one that's like, "Never say I'll be back," and then Stu immediately says it, but, like, obviously nothing happens to him because he's the killer, so it's kinda like a
Yeah,
little nod of, like, well, he's allowed to say it 'cause
yeah. Well, does he die? He died at the end, didn't he?
he does die at the end, but I think it's more
Oh,
so
there you go.
saying, like, if you're the victims, you don't say
Yeah, yeah. True,
it.
true. But the rules still applied
True.
because he said it, and then he was not back.
Very true.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think, like, everybody died except Gail, Sydney, Randy, and
Dewey.
Dewey, which actually Dewey was supposed to die in this.
Really?
That was the original script, and then at the end of, like, filming and stuff, that last little night in the house, which I think they filmed for, like, 18 days, they made T-shirts that were like, "I survived scene, like, 118," or something like that,
Oh
'cause,
my
like,
god.
it lasted so long that they were like, "Oh my
Mhm.
god." But yeah, when they were, like, kind of wrapping up, Wes Craven was like, "Well, let's just film him in the ambulance, just in case we change our minds."
There you go. And
He
there he
did.
was.
Yep, test audiences loved Dewey. He's like, "Alright, fine." So he just added in that scene at the last minute to, like, keep him alive.
Yeah, because there was no indication that he was alive when he and Gail are just laying there on the floor, like, he wasn't even breathing, and she
Yeah,
was clearly, so
they did that on purpose because he was supposed to be dead.
yeah,
So, like,
and then there he was.
last minute decision to keep Dewey alive.
Well, I'm here for it, I liked him.
Yeah.
Well, okay, no, I'm lying because I thought he was the killer of the whole movie.
Yeah, your opinion of him was probably sullied by you thinking
It
that he
was a
was a
little
murderer.
yes, yeah. I was like, "Fuck this guy. He's going around killing people." Because
Yeah.
up until the, scene where he and Gail are, like, walking and they find the car, the dad's car, Dewey's never in the same place as Ghostface, and there's never enough time, or I mean, there's always enough time for him to switch over to Ghostface and, like, back again.
Yeah.
So I was so convinced.
Yeah. I think that I mean, all of that was intentional, and I think, like, especially at the time, like, it was brilliant to have 2 killers, because then it's like,
True.
Billy was in prison. How could he have called Sydney?
Mhm.
He didn't, Stu did. So, like,
True. True.
there were all those types of things, but I think one of the biggest hints that it is 2 killers is Casey's death at the very beginning. There's no way one person could have strung her up on the tree like that so quickly. So I think
True.
if you really think about it logically, yeah, there would have had to be 2 killers.
Well, and even the scene where, Sydney's in the car and, like, both sides of the car are locking and unlocking and the tailgate's opening? Not the
Well, that's
tailgate.
because he had the little clicker, though.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
Never mind.
yeah. But also, I think it's kind of a funny nod too, is that, again, in the beginning, when Ghostface is like he kills Casey's boyfriend, and then he's like, "Alright, last question, like, final question, which door am I at?" It didn't matter what she chose.
Yeah.
One of them was at either door, so she was dead regardless. So I
True.
think that again is kinda like, you think at the beginning, "Oh, she chose the wrong door." No, they were just both at each
They
door.
were just at a door. Yep. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
I'm glad you brought that up.
I know, which again, like, one of the reasons why they kind of wanted to do that was because of rewatchability. Like, if you rewatch a scary movie and you already know who did it, it's kinda like, "Yeah, okay, they're not here in this scene, whatever." But then when you rewatch Scream, you're kinda like, which one of them is doing that? You know, like,
Yeah.
who is it? Which one?
What was the I guess he explicitly said there doesn't have to be a motive, but I was gonna ask what's the motive for killing the principal of the school?
I think it was I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
I was about to, like, launch into an explanation, but then I realized I really don't I don't fucking know.
You were so confident, and
I
then your face
was.
just went.
I was like, "Actually, I think it's because, no fucking clue."
Well, must be some
I
mystery. Okay, wait.
honestly, I thought you were gonna say, like, what were their motives? And then I had a whole thing because, like, obviously Billy's was, like,
Yeah.
because of his mother
Come
and Sydney's
on.
mother, but then, like, Stu didn't have one. And they actually, like, the writer, when he was deciding, like, what Stu's motive would be, because, like, why is he helping? He polled, like, everyone in the office and was like, "Is it scarier to have a motive or not?" And it was split
Yeah.
50-50 between people who were like, "No, it's scarier when they don't, and it's scarier when they do." And so he's like, "Alright, well, I got 2 killers, so one will have a motive and one won't." There we go.
And they even said that. They said that to Sydney, like, "I don't have to have a motive."
Yeah, but they were also kind of wrong because they mentioned Patrick Bateman in Psycho and Hannibal Lecter, and both of them did have motives, so wrong. But
Aw. See, I wouldn't know
kind of.
that.
Yeah. You will one day, though.
One day. One
One
day.
day.
Episode 478.
And Katie finally learns Hannibal Lecter's motive.
That's actually the one movie that I came into this saying I'm not gonna watch.
Silence of the
Right?
Lambs?
Silence of the Lambs? Yeah.
You're gonna
Remember?
watch it. Yeah, 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 but that's because someone told you not to watch it.
Yeah, my mom.
Your mom's favorite movie is Mary Poppins.
True. Yeah,
I
true.
think if your mom had seen Hereditary, she also would tell you not to watch that, so
True. Very true. Yeah, I can't imagine any of the movies actually that we've watched so far, her saying, "Yeah, you should watch this."
Yeah. Which, fun fact, Nev Campbell hates scary movies. She didn't wanna be in this movie.
Why was she?
So she originally said no, and then they were like, "Oh, well, we cast Ski Ulrich in this movie," and she had already worked with him on The Craft, and she was like, "Aw, alright, I'll do it."
Aw.
So she did it just to work with him again, but then after it came out, she got, like, tons of offers for horror movies, and she turned them all
Ooh.
down. She's like, "I don't wanna be a scream queen. I don't want that life." And it didn't work because she's still considered one, but
I mean, yeah, because
this
literally
and
the scream queen.
I mean, like, in my heart, she is the scream queen. But yeah. And also The Craft is horror, technically. It's a
I
little bit
wouldn't know.
more. It's on our list
The
because it
list is so
is.
long.
I
We
know,
should
it's a
honestly
long
publish
list.
it.
Publish it? Like a novel? Just kidding.
I
I'm
don't
just sorry.
know, like a website, but
I know, but I don't know what order it's gonna be in, you know?
that's true, that's true.
Because 'Cause I've messed with the order so many times.
Well, even if we just post a list, here's a list of all the movies that we're considering.
That's true. But, like, originally, the Scream episode was not supposed to come out until, like, June.
True.
And here we are in March, and it's released, so
Yep. And honestly, just like you said, if it's a horror movie, it's on the list, so
that's true. We had one of our friends send, like, a whole list of movies that they would like to see us talk about, and I was like, "I'm pretty sure every single one of those is on the list."
yep, it was like 50 movies,
It
all
was
of
a
them.
lot. I was like, "Check, check, check, check."
Yep. And her list didn't even include foreign movies,
No, I have a few foreign movies on there.
domestic ones.
I know. Well,
Okay.
overall,
Well, I know your answer, so I'm gonna guess your answer and then you guess mine. Your answer is 5 out of 5.
oh my god, you're right. That's so weird. Okay, but honestly, I adore this movie. It's by far the best slasher out there, in my opinion, at least. It's self-aware. They didn't overdo it though, to the point where it's like not horror anymore.
Mhm.
I just love it so much, and I love Stumacher. I love Stumacher. I know that's problematic. I don't care. He's a fictional character. I could love him. I'd hang
I
out with him.
honestly I get it. I get it. I get it.
Okay, I'm gonna guess that your rating was a 4.
And a half.
Oh, yay! Okay.
Yeah. It would have been a 4 for sloppy editing, but 2 things. 1, that gives a little bit of character and a little bit of charm, so I can't hold that against it too much. Um, but Jamie Lee Curtis was in it, so that, like, automatically gives it an extra point 5.
Oh, okay.
Even though she wasn't, like, actually in it. She was in it, sort of.
It still counts, I guess.
It
You
counts.
know what? Whatever gets it that 4.5 is
Yep.
whatever bumps it up in your rating system is fine by me.
They mentioned her several times. She was like, you see her multiple times. It counts.
She's a squeam queen. She's a squeam queen. You know, the ones.
Yeah, yep.
I'm not even gonna say it right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, it's such a good movie. I
Mhm.
I I think up until now, I haven't gotten any of the self-awareness from any other movies. Like, uh, what's
The
the one
Menu.
with no, that one too. Ugh. But what was the other one? It was like the 3rd one no, it was like the 5th one we watched
The 5th one
with
we watched was Train to Busan.
breastfeeding.
Oh, Barbarian.
Barbarian. I didn't see any self-awareness in that at all, and you did. And The
Yeah,
Menu went
not
right over
into
my
it.
head. This movie was, like, perfect.
You know what's
Perfect amount of
funny?
awareness.
So when Scream first started when they first started submitting it to the MPAA for ratings, they just kept getting NC-17, NC-17, NC-17. They had to cut,
What?
like yeah, they cut, like, a lot of the gore out, so, like, when Casey is hung up on the tree and, like, her guts are hanging out, they made that a faster scene so that it wasn't as graphic, and they
Mhm.
kept getting it after, like, all these cuts, and finally, one of the producers went to, like, the MPAA, and they were like, "View it as a comedy. Watch it as a comedy." And it came back with an R after that. Because, like, they were
Honestly, R
watching
is
it
still high.
yeah, but they were just watching it as a straight horror and not realizing that, like, it was also satire,
Yeah.
but also, like, Skeet Ulrich, like, he was playing it as straight horror, and then it wasn't until, like, a few scenes in that he was like, "Why do Jamie Kennedy and Matthew Lillard keep making jokes?" And Wes Craven was like, "'Cause it's not just a straight horror, it's also a comedy and a satire." Like
Yeah, I still maybe don't see the comedy of it all, but I do see the satire of it, and there were things that were but
Yeah. You
it's
don't see
not
the
like drawing
comedy
me
in it? You didn't laugh when, like, Stu
No, I
was
laughed.
going off his little
I laughed several times. There were several funny parts, but just because you laugh a couple times doesn't make it a comedy.
Well, no, I mean, it's not straight comedy either.
Yeah,
But I
true.
think, like, that's what I'm saying when I say that the genres go so well together, because you think of, like, a horror movie and, like, you're not gonna laugh because it's scary or whatever, but, like, it's still got some jokes,
True.
you know?
Honestly, I think it was the perfect blend.
I do too. That's why it's a 5 out of 5.
Yep. I get it. I get the appeal.
Yeah,
All these years of you talking up Scream, and we're finally here.
yeah. I really love Ghostface. Who doesn't though, right?
I get it.
Alright, would you
Um,
survive?
what are the 3 rules? Don't say "Be right back," don't have sex, and don't do drugs or drink?
Mhm.
No, I'm fucked.
But this is also a movie that breaks them. Sydney has sex. She lives.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Mhm.
Hmm. Well, I didn't go to a lot of parties, so I don't think I would have been there to get murdered,
Okay. There you
but I
go.
also don't know anything about horror movies. So if they had asked me questions about horror movies. Like if I was Casey, I'm dead. If I was Sydney, not dead.
Very accurate to the lore. It's I think if I'm Casey, I'm fine. I'm chilling.
You would have said Mrs. Voorhees?
100%. Babe, I know my shit. Like,
Yeah, that one got me too. I guess
yeah.
I was like, "It's Jason." I almost said Freddy,
No.
but just now.
Jason doesn't even wear his hockey mask in the first one. Well, it's not Jason, but, like, it's just a
Well,
fucking potato sack.
isn't he also a child?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's not really in the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Spoiler alert,
but no,
but
I would have said it too.
yeah.
Also, we never talked about the janitor named Fred.
That's played by Wes Craven.
Oh, I didn't even know!
And it's literally the costume from Nightmare on Elm Street.
Like, actually?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
Yeah. Well, he did the first one, so.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Wow,
He
learning all sorts of
almost
stuff.
yeah, so there's a line in Scream where, like, someone said I can't remember if I think it's Randy says, like, about Nightmare on Elm Street, like, "Well, the first one was good, the rest sucked." And, like, Wes Craven almost cut it because he was like, "I can't say that about a movie I made but didn't make the sequels, like, that's not good." And then everyone else on set was like, "No, you have to keep it because a real fan would say that." So, like
True, true. Oh,
yeah.
that's funny.
But yeah, no, I think I'm living. I never answer the phone unless I know who's calling me. So, first of all, suck it, Ghostface. Second of all, if I was Casey, I would have never broken up with Stu in the first place. Man's everything to me. So, like, I'm chilling,
True.
honestly. I'm having a great time.
Was that his motive? That was
Well,
his motive.
that was his motive for killing Casey, yes. Which they say at the fountain. Well, literally, Randy calls both of the killers immediately. He calls Steve out at, or Stu out at the Steve, Jesus, Stu out at the fountain. He says, "Well, where were you? Didn't she break up with you for Steve?" And Tatum's like, "No, I thought you broke up with her for me." And he's like, "Well, I did." No. So that was the motive for them. And then in the video store, Randy calls out that it's got to be Billy. So Randy knew.
Randy knew the whole time.
He
Randy's the
always
real
knows.
hero here.
Randy's the MVP for sure.
Mm. I'm really excited to watch all the rest of them and the scary movies.
I'm
Okay,
excited.
wait.
There's a lot more movies that we have to watch before you can watch the scary movies, though. Like, if
Okay,
you didn't like that you didn't get the references in this one, you will be lost if we watch the scary movie series.
okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. At least the main ones. I'll try to hit the main ones before we watch those because,
Okay,
yeah, you need to watch I Know What You Did Last Summer for even the first one. So,
okay, fair. Um, you have to tell me though, because you made a face
oh,
earlier. Is Dewey the killer in a future movie?
I can't tell you that.
He is.
I'm not telling you. You can't, don't look it up.
Wikipedia it.
Don't Wikipedia it.
Either you tell me or I Wikipedia it.
Oh my god, are you serious?
No, I'll
Thank
watch it. But now
you.
I know.
You don't know shit.
Okay, well, I'm putting it. It's in the podcast.
Okay,
I think that Dewey is one of the killers.
You heard it here first. If in a future Scream movie we review it and Dewey turns out to be a killer, I will send you $5 on Venmo.
Oh my god, thank you.
You're welcome.
High stakes.
Oh
uh,
my gosh. All right.
next week?
You know what time it is? It's time for you to guess what you think next week's movie is going to be about. Next week, we're watching another foreign film. It's French. It's called Martyrs.
Okay. Martyrs
Yes.
is about a witchy cult. and they are trying to convince people to sacrifice themselves to the entity that they worship, who is the body of a human and the head of an animal, probably a deer or a pig, but I don't want to make any significant conclusions. I want to leave it a little bit more general. So an animal head, body, body of a person. And there's a girl in the movie, and one of her family members is the cult leader. I just told you that wait. I just I literally just said Hereditary. That was the plot I just gave you. Oh my god.
It really actually was,
Wait.
yes.
Shit. Well, fuck. Okay, well, I'm sticking with it.
All
I think
right.
it's I think it's very like Hereditary.
You think it's yeah, it's on
The French remake.
plot. Well, Martyrs came out in 2018, so or 2008. Not
Oh,
yeah, so wait, well
Hereditary is
before
the remake.
Hereditary.
Yeah, Hereditary is the remake here.
Okay, so Hereditary is the American remake of Martyrs,
Yes.
even though there was an American remake of Martyrs.
Oh god.
Nailed it. I think
There
you're gonna
has to
be
be some sort of sacrificing. I mean, just the word
well,
martyrs.
martyr, yeah.
Yeah.
I figured you'd get at least that much, yes.
Okay.
In some sense, there is sacrifice that is made, yes.
Hmm.
I think you did great, honestly. I you know,
It's literally the last movie we watched.
it is. I can't wait for you to predict the plot of the movie after Martyrs, and you're just gonna describe Scream.
Scream. So there's a killer named Scream.
Oh, no. I love this game. Okay. You really did fantastic.
Ugh, thank you. There
I feel
better be a
like
pig or a deer.
listen, that was a fair guess, considering the fact that as someone who is not in the depths of horror, you would not know anything about Martyrs, period. So,
Right.
like, all you have to go off of is the title.
Yeah.
And obviously Hereditary is fresh on your brain, so
Oh, shit. Okay. I need to start writing these down so that I can, like, read them and know that, okay, that's not the plot of Scream.
yeah. Yeah, you do a little homework first, and then
Okay. Okay.
maybe
Yeah.
send them to me. I'll be like, "No, that's the plot of whatever."
Yeah, no. Babe, you watched that movie already?
We already watched that movie.
Yeah.
Although, honestly, there are some movies that you could almost describe the plot of something else, and it would be fairly close, so
That's true. That's true. Um, well, we'll see.
yeah, we'll see next week.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for today. If there are any movies you'd like to hear us talk about, please let us know in the comments or shoot us a DM on our socials.
Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week when we talk about the 2008 psychological horror French film, Martyrs. Bye.